Morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the week. It's happy Monday for me. I spent the weekend at Download Festival with my 14-year-old James, having an amazing time, away from phones, away from social. He came to the mosh pit for the first time with me, which was quite a thing. But how do I tie this into what I want to talk to you about today? Well, of course, a ban on social media use by under-16s has been announced by the government. It's big, not just because of the headline, because this isn't just about banning kids from social media. It's about changing how this side of the world is regulated, building on what we already have with the Online Safety Act, which was meant to be putting us in a position where we were the first country in the world to try and regulate social media, although enforcement's obviously been patchy and there's been a lot of learning to do. But this is a step further from an awful lot of campaigning, from an awful lot of very relevant public opinion, and the government's now confirmed, as I said, that there's a full ban on under-16s accessing the major social media platforms. And it's not immediate though. It's going to come into force around spring next year. The detail is obviously being worked through. It needs to be worked through, as was the case with the Online Safety Act, which is still working through, and the UK GDPR data protection law. Direction of travel, though, very, very clear. We already have the Online Safety Act. The point of that is that it was meant to deter harm to users, to make platforms safer, get them to do risk assessments, remove harmful content, put protections in place for kids. That's about managing risk. This goes further than that. This is about the restriction of access. And it's everything around the ban that is going to need a lot of explaining. There's going to be restrictions on how platforms are designed and used, such as blocking live streaming, contact with strangers, limiting the more addictive features like infinite scrolling, extending protections to 16 and 17-year-olds, so there's no sudden cliff edge, and tightening rules around AI chatbots and similar tools. We've seen stuff like time limits already being introduced by the likes of Meta, but that's been obviously an optional thing. This is going to change that. But this goes to show you this is as much about product design as it is about access. So enforcement is going to be key. This takes responsibility away from parents and kids, which my 14-year-old said he didn't think was particularly fair, and he's got a point. This sits with the platforms themselves. What we're going to see is large-scale age verification, such as facial age estimation, digital ID, other kind of age assurance measures, which Ofcom is going to oversee. They're going to have to come up with a strategy for this. So big questions coming. It's happening. The government has framed this pretty bluntly. It's fixing a failing system. It's driven by concerns around mental health, addictive design, the impacts of social media on kids, and there's been a lot of backing for that from parents, but there's already pushback. Some are saying fairly that a ban doesn't address the underlying problem, which is how platforms are designed, how algorithm works, how content's recommended, how engagement's driven. So are we solving the issue or we're moving it somewhere else? But the Online Safety Act tried to make platforms safer. We're now going further than that. We're deciding as a country who should be allowed to use those platforms, how they should be built. That's much more interventionist in terms of regulating the digital world, especially for kids. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plans out, certainly for businesses that do a lot of work, as many of my clients do in this sector. But we're obviously going to keep our eye on it and expect you will as well. Cheers.